Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? Another glorious day in the shop. Oh, how's everyone doing? Gosh, it's gonna be 60 today. It was like 5 degrees or 2 degrees or whatever it was a week ago. I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Anywho, yesterday was pretty productive. I'd like to have gotten more done, but the limitations of the wood. We had to think on our feet and build up some wood. Had 2 rails that I had to laminate together as well to get my width. So anyway, it is what it is. We're gonna knock this out of the clamps and get these guys jointed up and go from there. I hope y'all are doing good, well, nice, happy, looking forward, keeping your eye on the ball. Let me get set up and get a way to move forward here, and I'll bring you guys back in. All right. Excuse me, you guys. It's a never-ending process of picking up and getting out and picking up and putting out and, well, whatever it is. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is scrape this glue squeeze out. And I've got a scraper that has a carbide scraper in it. And the reason I do this is this excess is, it's sure my joiner is going to cut this. But what I want to try to avoid in the joiner is a nick in the knife. Because these bubbles that are hard, it's just a little thing I do. This particular glue up, I wanted to give more attention to flushing up one face of this rather than being worried about the glue. So it's just, you know, it is what it is. Okay. So, I think we're going to look at these puppies, and really all of this has to be jointed. All of it has to be jointed. So, whatever I take off of these, basically everything has to be run so we maintain the thickness that we need. If I don't count the number of times that these pieces go through and neglect the other pieces that aren't laminated, then I will be going down will be reducing my thickness sort of randomly, and that's not good. We want everything, when these guys go together like this, when they go together like that, you know, they obviously have to be the same thickness. So, we will run them through the jointer. We will turn you guys around and come back when we have it set up. Okay, now, got the jointer set up. We've got the jointer. The jointer is set up. Now, if you can see, most of this stock is fairly flat, but this stock, I don't know if you can see this cup in the board. That's got to come out, and it's got to come out as we take these boards down. I think we're probably only going to reduce the thickness of this. We'll probably end up at 1 1/16", 1 1/8". We'll just see where it ends up. It's going to sort of dictate itself. Problem with this, and it's not really a problem, it just has to be addressed. This is 8 3/4 inches wide, and I have an 8-inch joiner. So what I need to do is not joint, but flatten. I've got my fence. I could run this, I could max out this and run 8 inches, a full 8 inches, but it's going to plow up to this much. And what I need to do is run this, turn this once I run it, and then take the remainder off. So my thought, and we're going to see how this works out, my thought is to run this at about half, and it's going to leave this much material, and then I can turn it around, and I have a foot that I can run. So I think that's a good idea, don't you? We'll give that a shot. The other thing is, I only have one edge jointed on these guys, and when I turn this around, I need an edge that's square, and so we need to take this, before we start this operation, we need to take it over to the table saw and square and parallel this edge. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back to the joiner. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here we go with that little thingamajiggle we're gonna do. So, flat but a slight problem. We've got a little bit of a difference, and I mean it's less than a 1/16. So we'll have to clean this up later. I'm going to have to adjust this bed so that it's a little bit less and try to flush these up or get it closer. So we'll see how that goes for me. So now we're just going to we're going to put the pork chop back in and run the rest of it. Okay, it's cookie time for a little break here. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and we've been working on these flattening these styles. And really, when you have a project, for me, it's always important to identify the critical part of the job and what's going to make or break the job as soon as I can. You know, and the more you do stuff, you just kind of know as you get more experience and whatnot. But I can't overemphasize enough, right here, right now. There's a song in that somewhere. Anyway, if these aren't flat and these don't come out straight, the job is over before it even gets put together. So if you're doing this without a joiner, it'd be a little rough. I mean, you could do it. The thing that I could recommend if you're going to do this without a joiner, I would choose the flattest boards you can. Let's see, this was run 4 times. I'm keeping track on the jointed side of how many times I run it through, so I can put these in order. When they get to the planer, I can put the thickest first and then incorporate. As I progressively get thinner, then I can, instead of having to, it just helps to have a continuous, you want your planer coming down continually, not up and down and up and down and up and down, because that messes with consistency. So anyway, I wish I had an 8-foot straight edge here. It's at the job, but that's what I'm looking for on these jointed edges. And these are taking more than just a couple of passes through the joiner. As you can see, this one was 4. I think there's one that's up to 6. Sometimes, and it's kind of happened in this batch of lumber, when even if it's dried, you're releasing tension in the board. Even though the board is dried, it's just constricting. And so when you run a saw through it, it's like you're letting a spring go. Some of these boards have bowed on me more than I would like. And now I'm at the point where it's ripped. I just have to deal with it. So I'm probably going to, on my thickness, I'm going to end up, by the time these are planed and ready to put together, I'm going to end up with closer to 1 inch than 1.25 inches. But these have to be, we've got to have our straight business. I've got 2 styles left, and then I'm going to run the rest of the rails, and then I've got to get out to the deck. But these will be ready for more processes as time goes on, as the days go on. You don't want to, with these, you don't want to like do part of the joining and then come back to it later on. You want to get all of your initial processing and getting to know the wood out of the way. Then you go and you make all your, do all your rough cuts. You do everything in a cycle. It ends up being kind of circular, which is the kind of workflow that I like. I don't always get circular workflow, but it is the most efficient, I think, where you're just running around from station to station, performing tasks. I did want to cover how I'm getting some of these extreme bows out, and everybody has a different way of doing it. Let me see if we can get a gander. These 2 in particular, everything else was not so bad. There was one double bow, which gave me a fit, and I had to adjust the outfeed on it a little bit to get it to play ball. But let's see if we can look at this. I don't know. Yeah, I think. Yeah, there you can get an idea of what I'm dealing with. I'm holding it to where it's concave, especially the last 2.5 feet of the board. And what I like to do, it just depends on the situation, and we're actually not too bad to about right here, maybe 3 feet. So if you turn this over to where the top is convex, in other words, the arc is facing up, I can literally lay this while the cutter head is going carefully. You have to pull your pork chop, and I'm sure somebody's gonna go, oh my God, Anyway, here's how I take care of a bow of such magnitude. Now it's not as bad as those two pieces we didn't like yesterday. We're probably at a strong eighth. We're touching here and we're touching here. This is accentuated a little bit, but I'm only a 16th down with this table. The important thing is we're not going to hit the cutter head. And even when this is turning, if you tilt this in like this, you put it against the fence first. Remember, both edges have to be jointed in parallel, square and parallel, we should say. So what I'm going to do is carefully lower this sucker onto the cutter head, and I still have my 1/8 inch gap, so my board isn't going to hit the cutter head while it's turning. So once you've got that in there, you're keeping your piece steady, and you're going to carefully, you're not going to put a lot of downward pressure on this. You're going to let the joiner find its own, because you're going to have to listen to the cutter head. So, you know, you're going to, when you're back here, you're not going to hear the cutter head engaged in the wood. So you're just going to keep going at a steady pace. And at some point, and the cutter head's not showing, but at some point, probably right about here, you're gonna feel and hear that cutter head engage with the wood. And don't push down hard, just guide it steadily and firmly through until the cutter head's done. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna repeat this process until you start flattening. You'll start seeing this on the bed. And as you get flatter, you are going to be setting this down on the cutter head. So again, you're going to push it up against the fence, and you're going to carefully, what I like to do is just carefully let the pork chop engage the side of the workpiece, and then have your push stick ready to go, So you just gently lower it onto the cutter head, and then you grab your push sticks and you repeat the process. Gently but firmly push it through. Well, I have to change the dust collector because the dust collector is full. It's very full. It's like, we've been making some chips. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, and here's another thing about a small shop. So you're in the middle of a process and shlamum, your dust collector's full. And it's to the point where it's not drawing. So I had to, before I have my soda and my cookie, I have to change that out. So, but it's back online. That's that. I'm gonna grab a little soda and we'll get back to this. Well, I think I've been pushing the envelope a little bit. I need to get to the deck, but we got everything surface planed out here. So glad. It's like 60 freaking degrees today, but here is what we've got. So rather than bore you to death with just running boards, we ran the jointed edge down, and so everything ended up being about 1 inch and 5/32, which is a little bit over 1 inch and 1/8, which stinks, but in order to make this straight as possible, that's how much material I had to remove. So yeah, it's a little nuts. That's just the nature of the beast. If I would have wanted to make 1 inch and 3/8 door, I probably would have had to jump up to 8/4, which is close to 2 inches thick. I believe 8/4 is 1 inch and 13. So there you go. You're gonna need to pull all this in and get cleaned up and get over to the deck. So I hope everybody's doing good.
I hope you have as good a weather as we have. We're just hanging out, getting work done. I'll talk to you soon. 11.